All right, let's move on. We're talking NBA playoffs. Exciting time of the year. So we've got most of the playoffs matchups good to go. So let's start to preview them. We're gonna go straight onto it. We were gonna talk about overall thoughts, but I think we'll just go straight into the playoffs. That's the exciting thing. Let's look at the Eastern Conference first. We've got 3 out of our 4 matchups confirmed. I'm going to start with the unconfirmed one. You said Washington makes it. I said Indiana. But regardless, I don't think it changes the narrative too much. What do you think is going to be the result of this series?
It's still going to be Philly. Like, it's got to be Philly, and it's probably still going to be Philly in probably 5 games would be my bet. It could go to 6. I mean, Indiana and Washington can compete. They got some good players there in both teams. But I'd probably say in 5 for Philly.
I'm going Philly in 4. I'm bringing out the broom. I just think that
Really?
I don't know. I don't like any of these teams. I think Philly's locked in. They're healthy. I just think they're built for playoff basketball. Just with their size. Just when the game slows down, you can give it to Embiid. I don't see anyone from either of these teams able to stop him. So I just don't think that they're gonna drop a game personally. So I'm going Philly 4.
It is a big advantage to have that first seed I was mentioned, because there's really a big 3 in the East.
Yes.
It's either Philly, Brooklyn, or Milwaukee. You could put Miami in the mix, I guess, as well, but they're probably a tier down. So, and they're in the same column. They're in the same bracket. So that 1 seed ended up being very beneficial. So they really should be a lock for the conference finals. You'd think, right?
Yeah, I'm picking them to make the conference finals. I'm interested to see who will meet them there, because I think it's that series will be very matchup dependent. So I'm watching that very closely. But yeah, I agree. I think they're only going to drop 1, maybe 2 games before the conference finals, personally, in my point of view. So yeah, I think they're pretty safe bet to make the conference finals. Let's move on to the next series, Brooklyn versus Boston. What are your thoughts here?
I'm going to have to say, look, Jason Tatum played very well today. I'll give
50.
He put up a 50.
Yeah.
In an elimination, well, not quite elimination for him, I guess, but one of the first ever play-in tournaments. So
he stepped
that's
up.
Promising.
Yeah.
He did. I'm going to have to say, look, Brooklyn in 5 though.
Yeah.
Brooklyn in 5.
Saying all that, Brooklyn in 5. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this Celtics team, man, I don't know. They frustrated me all season. There was a point at which I think we were like the 5th seed, like a month ago or 3 weeks ago.
It was still only like a couple games above 500.
Yeah, I know. We weren't doing great, but I was like, okay, if we can make the 5th seed and then we can verse Atlanta or New York, all right, cool. We can get our momentum going. We'll get to the second round, cool. We'll see. Anything can happen from there. We start losing, and we lose to teams like Oklahoma City and Detroit, and it's just, like, what are you guys doing? Then Jaylen Brown goes down. So I don't know. I'm giving Boston 1 game. I reckon maybe Brooklyn will come out and win the first 2 or 3, and we'll get a game. Yay! And then
is there any chance Jaylen's going to come back, or is he just out?
He's out.
He's
out.
done.
I think he's out for at least 3 months, from what I understand.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe I should get the broom. Maybe I should be getting the broom for this one.
I thought you might. I was getting ready for it. But
no, gentlemen sweep.
I think Brooklyn's a better matchup than the other 2 teams in the top 3, personally, because there's not a dominant big, which we've always struggled to guard against. I think we've got the personnel to match up all right, but yeah, just no firepower, no momentum. Hoping better for next year, but we'll see. I miss Gordon Hayward. Where do you see Brooklyn going in the playoffs, just as a general sort of thing?
I have them meeting Philly in the conference finals, and
okay,
I have them in the finals as well. I have them.
Okay, early pick. All right, we might touch on that a bit earlier, but I like your pick.
Things could change. I have the right to change my opinion, but right now they'd be my pick for the Eastern Conference.
Very interesting. Let's move on to Milwaukee versus Miami. Now, I reckon we'll have a bit to say about this series. The first 2 were a bit cut and dry, but it's the same series as last year. We had the upset last year. The eventual finalists in Miami toppling the number 1 seed. Was it number 1 seed at the time?
Yep. Yeah. They're the best record in the whole league, including the
year.
West. So
yeah, right. So it was a 1v4 last year. This time it's a 3v6. Who have you got?
I want to see who you have first. Can I ask you first?
Sure. I think I predicted the exact same result last year. And I'm going Milwaukee in 6.
Milwaukee in 6. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm going Milwaukee in 6.
Well, let me hear your. I want to hear why.
I think that Miami has taken a step back this year from the others in terms of Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. They haven't improved. I think Dragic is not the player we saw in the playoffs last year. Yes, Jimmy is still playing well, and yes, Bam is still that guy. But I think in the playoffs last year, those other guys were the difference. You know, the fact they benefited from that break. I think they were extremely well coached, well disciplined, ready to play, whereas some of those other players and other teams were not. And I think Milwaukee's going to have that bad taste in their mouth. They're going to come out with a point to prove. They've added Drew Holiday, who, if you compare him to Bledsoe right now, like that's just a huge cliff of a drop off between him and Bledsoe. So they've improved heaps there. I think they're going to take it.
Interesting. Well, yeah, look, the Drew Holiday edition is a big one. I'll say that, and especially because he is someone who can straight up, body Jimmy Butler. He's a big dude, likes to play physical. So that definitely could be a difference maker. They obviously didn't have that last season. But look, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to back Miami. It's about matchups. Playoffs is about matchups, right?
I knew you would.
Like that's and they match up perfectly for Milwaukee. That they're made to beat Milwaukee. It should have been a sweep last season. The only game that they won was when Giannis went down in like the second quarter, and then for some crazy reason, Bledsoe decided he was a good player again, and Chris Middleton started getting buckets, and Miami were a bit like shocked. With Giannis in the court, they got dominated every game. They just got destroyed.
How many games?
I just feel like it's going to be like you still have Bam Adebayo, great body, the throw at big Giannis. They can make the wall. They have a better coach in Eric Spoelstra. Are we even sure that Giannis is that much better than Jimmy? Because I know when it comes to fourth quarter, I'm backing my boy Jimmy. He can hit free throws. Giannis can't make free throws in the clutch. It's a big problem. That's what Jimmy does. Jimmy gets the free throw line. If it's close, I'm just gonna have to back my guy. So I'm going Miami in 6. Miami in 6.
Okay, so you've got them dropping one more game than last year. I just wanted to fact check. Has Giannis' free throw percentage improved this year? No, I don't think so. Or maybe marginally, but
it's pretty similar, surely, to what it has been.
Let me double check that real
68.5% for the season.
Yeah, 2021.
But look at that. Are we really that sure that Giannis is that much better than Jimmy?
Is increased 5%. Look, I understand based on like the playoffs last year, but you've got like it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like he's a good player. Like I know has his.
So's Jimmy.
Yeah, I know he's got his issues, but Jimmy's not the best shooter in the world either. Yes, he can hit his free throws, but look, I think there's you've got two players in terms of Bam and Jimmy. I just think there's more talent on Milwaukee. You've got Giannis. Okay, so even if we say that Giannis and Jimmy Butler are a wash, you've got two other all-star. They're not all-stars this year, but like all-star level players in Middleton and Drew. Bam is your other all-star in Miami, but then who else do you have? Like there's
you're missing, last playoffs, Goran Dragic was the other, I guess, all-star, and he does turn it on in the playoffs. Like they rest him, they coast him. He plays bigger minutes in the playoffs. He's a big reason why Bam is kind of unlocked in the playoffs too, because that pick and pop between him is pretty lethal. So if he's healthy again, I'd be watching out for Goran Dragic. He is that third star on that team.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, Goran Dragic is not enough to sell it. Maybe if you had Oladipo there and he didn't injure himself, that might have been something. But they obviously don't have him until next year. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm just not. I'm not willing to. I think the revenge story is the story I'm going with this matchup. But we'll see. Maybe we'll put a bet on it.
Watching some games of you. We'll have to watch a couple ones together.
Do you want to put some money on? Let's make a ball boys bet.
Let's do it.
All
Okay.
right, 20 bucks. 20 bucks. I've got Milwaukee.
I'll take those odds easily. Let's go.
Right,
$20.
Just one for one. All right, and we'll see how we go. All right, we've got some money on the line. Here we go. I'll see. We'll see who's laughing at the end. All right, last matchup, which is matchup I'd never thought I'd read out on the podcast at the start of the season. The 4th-seeded New York Knicks versus the 5th-seeded Atlanta Hawks. Wow, crazy. I tweeted out the other day that of all the ball boys, and I'm including you, Jermaine, and Mike as well, the New York Knicks are the highest seeded team. Higher than your team, Miami, higher than my Celtics, and then higher than Jermaine's Lakers, who are the champs as well. Just absolutely wild scenes. I'm pretty sure in our over-unders podcast at the start of the season, I had unders on the New York Knicks from memory. So anyway, big season from the Knicks. Who have you got in this series?
This is going to be a good series, by the way. I'm going to have to watch a few games.
Yeah.
The big question is who is the best player in this series? Is it Randall or is it Trae Young?
I think it's Julius Randle. I think
it's Julius Randle.
Yeah. There's Trae Young. It's going to be the first time we see him in the playoffs, which will be interesting in itself.
What's the first time we're seeing Julius Randle in the playoffs as like a number one option?
The man, yeah.
Has he even been in the playoffs before?
The Lakers? I don't think they made it with Julius. Yeah,
so he was always injured in LA anyway. He went to New Orleans for a bit, but then Anthony Davis wanted to leave, and it's all a bit messy. So
I think this might be his first playoffs too. I'll have to fact check that, but I think a lot of people have their doubts with Trae Young in the playoffs, and he'll get exposed on the defensive end. I sort of agree with that statement, but maybe not in this series. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who the offensive guard, maybe it's RJ Barrett, or they just play really big. I'm not sure who's going to be the matchup that exploits his lack of size, but I've got Knicks in 6, which again surprises me again. But who have you got coming through?
I've got the Knicks in 7. Is my call. Yep. I think the Hawks do have a lot of firepower, and they will win some games. You know, that they've got Bogdanovic, they've got Trae Young, who can win them some games. Gallinari coming off the bench. I mean, John Collins and Capella's leading the league in rebounds, by the way. He's a big dude. He's making people work defensively, holds the paint up pretty well. Yeah. So
they're definitely a deeper team, but I think depth is less important in the playoffs. And I think Tibbs is going to play his guys 40 minutes a night, at least, probably minimum. And as long as no one gets injured, I just think that I'm so impressed with Julius Randle. I think that he's just going to bully his way in there. Yes, you can throw John Collins at him. He's not a bad matchup, but I just think he's too strong. He's got that shot from the 3 now. He can dish it. I'm just picking Julius Randle to just bully his way into the second round, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is the better player in this series, and I think it might just end up being one of these series. Who's the best player? You've also got Derrick Rose, by the way, who in the past month has really been playing very high quality basketball since he went to the Knicks.
Yeah, has he? I've not been keeping many tabs on Derrick Rose, to be honest. Yeah, he's going to
over the past month. He's playing 29 minutes, so for a bench player, it's pretty solid. But he's putting up 18 points and 5 assists. Yeah. So I mean, that's 6 man of the year, really. 18 and 5. That's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty good numbers. Obviously, he's got the starters minutes, but
field goal 57% field goal as well.
It will be good. It will be great to see him in the playoffs again. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel like he will be the closer at the point guard too. So he will be closing games. So I actually am quite excited to see that.
I reckon there's going to be a huge energy
he will
as well just in general for the Knicks being in the playoffs. When was the last time we saw the Knicks in the playoffs? It was that one year where Melo got in there.
And they just announced that half the stadium will be open to fans, so it'll be half capacity. So it will be loud. It'll be
that half a stadium will carry so much noise. That's going to be rocking in there, I reckon. So I think that that solidifies my opinion. They've got the home court, I think it looks like we're both tipping the Knicks. Let's move over to the West. Okay, we predicted our Did you say you reckon the Lakers, like, I know you said you wanted the Lakers to lose the first game, but do you actually think that they will?
If I'm putting money on it, I'd say they would win. The Lakers would win.
Okay. All
I
right.
I just want them to be in the other bracket and take Utah out.
Well, okay. For this example, because I think the West is so interesting, because there's the matchups and the teams and the seedings are so all over the place. Let's assume that it's Utah versus Lakers. Who do you have in that series?
Lakers.
Okay. And how many games?
6.
Okay. If it's Utah versus the Warriors, who do you have?
Utah.
Okay.
And that'd be deep. That'd be 6 or 7. In my opinion. Okay. I'm probably saying 6.
So I'm predicting the Warriors to be the 8th seed. So I've gone in my prediction Utah versus the Warriors, and I've gone Utah in 6. I think obviously Steph, I think is he's the wild card, but I don't think he can do it over a 7-game series. I think he's good enough to get 1 or 2 games. But Utah's a good defensive team as well. They're solid. I think they've got a great 7-man rotation, which is exactly what you want for the playoffs. So I do like Utah. If they were to come up to the Lakers, I think it would be a competitive series, a very competitive series, but I would have the Lakers coming out on top. Maybe in 6 games, 6 or so games.
Yeah, well, we're totally in agreement then. So Utah in 6 against Golden State, and there'll be a lot of Curry love in those 2 wins. I'm sure he'll average about 40 points because no one else in Golden State can offensively do anything.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, if they versus the Lakers, surely the Lakers would be favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you think Utah has any chance going past the second round?
Well, in their bracket, it's the Clippers and they're
Dallas.
versing the Dallas Mavs.
Yeah.
I can actually see them going up against I imagine it's going to be the Clippers, and that could go to 7.
Yeah. I
another
think
choke job. Is it another choke job by the Clippers?
I think it's a real situation where Utah is in the conference finals. But I think this West is wide open. Personally, I think that a lot of teams could make it through to the finals. I think there's only 3 teams in the East. I think there's maybe like 6 teams here in the West that could make it through to the finals, really. The Lakers are obviously, they're the best team in terms of talent, but those injuries are a definite concern. They haven't had the runs on the board to get the chemistry going yet. And it's, that's important when it comes to playoffs. It's very underrated. Like, just because it's LeBron and AD, you've got to have that chemistry. They've got a lot of new faces there.
Because they built that chemistry with Dwight Howard last season, and you had, you could argue, I guess Avery Bradley kind of pulled out before the bubble, but they still had those 8 games before that to solidify another point guard. They had KCP playing well, Danny Green like the whole season long.
Rondo,
this time around, Andre Drummond has, like, LeBron's barely even played with Andre, and apparently he's going to be starting center. So that is a worry.
Yeah. So as much talent as they have, I am a little bit worried about the Lakers. I would love to get Jermaine's perspective. I might chat to him between now and the next podcast and see what his thoughts are, assuming they make it in. Let's move on to the 2nd seed and let's talk about Phoenix. Again, we're undecided on. We're not sure who's going to be the matchup here, but give us who do you think depending on the matchup.
So Phoenix versus Golden State you have to go Phoenix. I actually think Phoenix is a better team than Utah.
Really?
Especially in the playoffs. I just think that team will be very good in the playoffs. Devin is a closer. Chris Paul is feisty. We know what Chris Paul brings. I'm very excited to see Phoenix. It's a shame they didn't get that number 1 seed, because if they didn't get the number 1 seed, I probably would have picked them for the conference final. But the fact that they might have to go through the Lakers now is pretty unfortunate. So they beat Golden State, yes, and probably I'd say 5 or 6 games. I'd probably even say 5, to be honest. And then the Lakers, you still have to back the champs. It'd be a 7-game series though. I would say that series would go to 7.
Interesting. Yeah. See, I think you might be a bit higher on Phoenix than I am. I think Utah is probably the better team. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen them for longer. You could very well be right. But I don't know. I think that it's all fresh for a lot of players.
There was only 1 more win in the regular season, by the way. 51-50.
Yeah. But I don't know. The playoffs are just a different animal. I think that teams lock in. Like, it's a bit different.
Let's say they do meet Utah Phoenix. What do you reckon that would go?
It's a 6 or 7 game series. I think they're close, but I would pick Utah. I think if hypothetically they
I'd be
meet.
going Phoenix. I reckon Phoenix would take that one.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe we'll have another bet if that happens. We'll see. But look, they'd have to meet in the finals, I think, the conference finals for that to be the case. But yeah, I think I agree. I think the Warriors can still, Steph. I'm always going to give him at least 1 or 2 games because it's Steph, and he can go off and just take a win away from a team. Yeah, and he can do it so quickly. So I'll always give him that, but he just doesn't have the help. And if he does, it will be an all-time sort of upset.
Oh, he just needs like a Wiggins 30-point game, and if he goes off for 40, then that's 70 points right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Draymond. You just need one Wiggins game out of let's say 5 games, and that's one game that they've won.
Did you know? Fun fact that Draymond Green became the first player in NBA history to score to have more rebounds and assists than he did points. I think on like a minimum like X amount of games or whatever played. That's pretty crazy to me. I mean, I guess I can't think of anyone else really that would fit that build.
He definitely is a one of a kind player, and it's once again it's a shame that Kevin Durant derailed his career in some degree because he offensively was actually something before Kevin Durant left. He was taking threes with confidence. I haven't seen him take a confident 3 in years.
No, he always look at the rim these days.
And then just another point that everyone's loving what we're seeing in Steph Curry. We missed out on this for about 3 years because of Kevin Durant. I just want to put that out there as well. That's why I'm not a fan of him. But anyway,
jeez, I can still hear the venom in your voice, Cal.
We could have had this for the 2 previous years. Like let's face it, we could have.
Fair enough.
It was taken from us, Mitch.
Well, we'll enjoy it in the playoffs when we see it in a week's time. Let's move on to the second last matchup, the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trailblazers. I think this is going to be a fascinating series. Who do you have here, Cal?
I reckon it's going to go 7 games, and I'm going to pick Portland.
Oh, mate, we agree. I can't believe that. I picked Portland in 7 too, and I was flip-flopping.
It's the Jamal. Like I would back Denver if they had Jamal Murray, but they don't. Yeah, so that was the coin flip for me. They needed him. They need him in the playoffs. They definitely do.
Look, Michael Porter Jr. Can I just say, Michael Porter Jr. he's a player, man. Like he was shaky at the start of the year, but the second half of the season, he has brought it. He's brought it efficiently. He is a scorer. And he's brought the defense as well. He's long. I think he's going to shine in the playoffs. I think this is a good matchup for him. So I like him. He's going to be the difference maker. If he can step up and be a genuine star, it's a lot to ask for a young player. It is a lot to ask. So that's why I'm tipping Portland to win. But I think it hinges on him because Jokic is going to be Jokic. I think they've got some good role players. But I think Portland's got more firepower, more depth. And Dame's just a big game player.
Well, I'll touch on Michael Porter again. So the past month, which has pretty much been since Jamal went down, 23.5 points, 6 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field. Crazy efficient, hitting 4 threes a game as well. So it is very impressive numbers, very efficient numbers as well. And when you have Nikola Jokic running the offense anyway, I guess Jamal isn't as necessary, but I still get a little bit worried in the clutch line. I just love the Jamal Jokic punch in the clutch. They just make things happen. Yeah. So I'd be very interested to see how it turns out in this series. I like Norm Powell as well. I do actually quite like him for like the Portland Trailblazers. CJ's back healthy now.
Yeah.
So
they've got a lot of firepower. Nurkic is back playing his best basketball. Nearly had a 5x5 game the other day. Playing really, really well. I just think that the 7-man, 8-man rotation at Portland is really, really good. Just that loss of Jamal Murray, it sucks, man. Because I wanted, they were looking like legitimate title contenders, and they're still, they could still definitely win this series. Definitely wouldn't shock me, just on the brilliance of Jokic, and also they've got some good role players. But yeah, just that lack of that second star player that can go for 50 as we've seen him do in playoff games is it's tough to come back from. So does suck. But I am excited to see Facu in the playoffs. I do love me a bit of Facu Campazzo. He's a fun player.
He's feisty.
Yeah, those passes, some of those passes are crazy. Let's go into the last matchup here. Give us your pick between Clippers and Dallas, Cal, and how many games?
I'm gonna have to say it will be Clippers in 6, which is the same as last season. You've got Kristaps, who I mean, I feel like he's always a health concern, right? He's always a health concern. I'd have to tip it in their favor. Look, Kawhi Leonard. I mean, playoff P. Playoff P is back, dude.
Wow, what are we going to get from player Paul George these playoffs? That's the question, because he's had a good season. You know, he's
great season, comeback season.
Yeah, but I think the questions are still going to be there, aren't they? After his playoffs last year. Now I know we're gonna talk about our sort of early pick for finals and things like that, but to me, this Clippers team still has the highest ceiling. You know, they've added players, Rondo. You've got
Luke Kennard, I quite like as well.
do you know what's going on with Serge Ibaka? What's going on with him? I swear he was out with like a bad back or a sore back or something for ages. So he played the last 2 games of the season. So he is back. So hopefully he plays some meaningful minutes in the playoffs, because I think that's another big addition. I rate him a little bit more than I do Trez Harrell. So,
yep, I totally agree. He's definitely a better player.
Yes.
So they're a better squad than last season. I think that's what it comes down to, and they have a legitimate point guard in Rondo to close out games and run actual plays for them. Because Pat Bev, you can throw in there for 25 minutes, but offensively things can get a bit stuck at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. On the Dallas side of things, like they're kind of the same team. Like there's not too much difference. A few of their players have gotten better. I've liked what I've seen from Brunson this year. Even someone like a Dorian Finney-Smith has had good moments, playing good defense, hitting threes. But there's nothing that really excites them. They're going to go as far as Luka takes them, and I just don't think it's enough against this sort of team. Like last year, I think he's going to play well enough to win a game or 2, but in the end, they're gonna fall to the depth and star power the Clippers. So I'm picking them in 6, the Clippers in 6, just like you are. Maybe even 5. I don't know. I feel like the Clippers team is better and the Dallas team is worse this year. So I could, actually, no, I'm going to go 5 on second thought. I think they're only going to get 1 game. All right, so let's close it out here. We're gonna talk about who we think is going to make the conference finals and then eventually the finals. We have the right to change this, but we will see as we go along. But let's just make some bold predictions now. Let's just start in the East. Who do we think is going to meet in the conference finals? I think, obviously, you've kind of already given away your answers.
I did. So I'd Philly versus Brooklyn. And do you want me to, I've already said, I think Brooklyn at this point, I would pick to make the finals.
Yeah, okay. I think, see, this is where I find it really tough, because at the matchup, so obviously Brooklyn and Milwaukee will win if it goes the way I think. If it's Brooklyn and Miami, the way you think. Regardless, I think if everyone's healthy, Brooklyn wins that series. So I think I agree in that matchup. Something's making me lean towards Philadelphia, though. I don't know. I think maybe it's just the matchup with Embiid. I don't know who guards Embiid in that Brooklyn team. And I think that Philly have got some guys to throw at those perimeter players. So I think I'm actually leaning towards Philadelphia at this stage, just based on matchups. I know it's going away from the star power, but I don't know. There's something about this Brooklyn team that I'm a bit worried about. They've had injuries throughout the season. They haven't had too many games where everyone's played together. I feel like it's a bit of a mishmash of personalities. And I just feel like this Philadelphia team's just on they're focused. They all have the same goals. They all understand what's going on. So I'm just tipping Philly at this stage.
It's going to be a good series. I'm looking forward to that one. And I'm really looking forward to a Brooklyn-Milwaukee series as well. Only if it happened, but it will obviously be Brooklyn and Miami, considering Miami will beat them.
We'll see.
That'll be the upside. If my Miami team does go down, I would love to see a Brooklyn-Milwaukee series. So that is a slight upside.
Okay. Yeah, that's your consolation prize when you lose your money.
It is. It is.
All right, let's head over west. Who do you think is going to make the conference finals? Depending on how things pan out, it's harder with this one because we don't know where the Lakers are going to be. They're 7th or 8th, but yeah, just let's take a stab at it. Who do you reckon?
Yeah, that's what makes it a lot harder because oh man, I kind of really do like Phoenix, but look, if the Lakers do go up against Phoenix, I think it's probably going to be a Lakers Clippers. Is
Yeah.
what I'd imagine it would be. So and then if that did happen, well, it'd be a good series. Well, you get the Battle of LA finally.
So wait, for that to happen, the Lakers would need to come in as
they'd be 7th, so they'd beat Phoenix.
Oh yeah,
and then
true.
Then they'd have to beat Portland in my prediction, and they'd go up against the Clippers, who would have just beaten Utah to make the conference finals. So it'll be a 4 versus 7 conference final.
Wow, wouldn't that be weird? I mean, it makes sense though. They're probably the two teams we would have picked at the start of the year. I'm probably going to agree with you there. I think the team I can see getting there for me is Utah. It really depends on the matchups and if I predict, because then it would be Utah versus Clippers in this case, if our predictions go through. And I can see, I don't know, just like that Clipper curse, man. I don't know, like maybe they collapse again. And I don't know. I mean, I would hate to see it because I'm kind of rooting for the Clippers because I'm sick of everyone hating on them and you know, they're the little brothers. I want to see them have their moment, but yeah, I don't know. I really like this Utah team personally. I don't know. I'm not sold with Denver. Portland, you know, they've got an outside shot if everything clicks. I like their sort of top 6 or 7 players. But I think it's hard to go against the Lakers and Clippers. I'm more confident with the Clippers than I am with the Lakers. And for that reason, I've got the Clippers going to the finals this year over the Lakers.
Yeah, I would back them as well. So in the Battle of LA, I would actually have the Clippers going through at this point in time.
Yeah, I rate it. I think, yeah, they're a better team. I think these Lakers are not as good as last year. They've had the injuries. The chemistry won't be there. So I'm not confident really in the Lakers getting to the conference finals. I just don't know who it is that knocks them off really. But it wouldn't shock me if they get knocked off in, you know, the first or second round really, just based on rust, based on chemistry. Yeah, I can see that happening. Or I can see LeBron just, you know, being LeBron and just making it work. So I can see it going either way. So in our prediction, you've got Clippers versus Brooklyn. Who do you take in that matchup?
Oh man, that'd be a good series.
That would be lots of firepower in that series.
I don't know. Oh geez, I'd probably have to say Brooklyn.
Yep.
If they make it to the finals, surely it's clicking at that point offensively that they'd win, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'd have a lot of momentum. Yeah, I think if that was the matchup for me, I would pick Brooklyn. To me, I think whoever comes out of the East wins. I've just been so impressed with those 3 teams.
Wow.
So I think
disrespect to the West. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. This year, I know the West is all even, but I just like these teams in the East. So I think for my prediction, I think it's Philadelphia. But I would back Brooklyn or Philly over a Clippers team. I think particularly if it is the Clippers, they've got a better matchup with Embiid. You can put Ben Simmons on Kawhi. You can get Toby Harris. They've got the size to sort of guard those wings. So I think they're going to shine when it comes to playoff basketball, which is not something we would have said last year. But the start of last year, we did have them as one of the top teams. So I think they're just showing what they're capable of at this point. Doc Rivers has done a great job. So I guess it sounds like I'm pretty bloody high on these Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
I'll say just before I'll say favorite sleeper team for each conference. For the East, I'll have Miami, who would have to end up going through Milwaukee and then Brooklyn and then Philly for them to make the finals. That'd be crazy. They'd have to
topple all 3.
Yeah, all 3 big giants. So that'd be huge. And then in the West, my sleeper would actually be Phoenix. to win it all.
Are they a sleeper if they're the number 2 seed?
Well, no one's real like they. I think they are. I think they are.
Yeah, it's weird to say because the Lakers, but they're the 7th seed. But
because no one's really saying Utah. I'd accept Utah as a sleeper for the victory as well, even though they're number 1.
I'd say Portland is a sleeper for me. I like Portland.
They're finally healthy. They're
healthy. They've got firepower. They've got a great starting 5. You got players like Cantor and that coming off the bench. So I like Portland. But realistically, I don't see it happening. But if I was to pick a sleeper, that would be them. Alrighty. Well, that will do it for us today. As always, if you like what you're hearing, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening along on YouTube, subscribe, like the video. Follow us along at Ball Boys NBA on Twitter. And we're tweeting things out all the time, or at least I am. Talking shit, giving you fantasy advice from the fantasy season. I'll be sitting back, relaxing, watching my Celtics get pumped by the Brooklyn Nets. So lots of good commentary there. Stay in tune to see who wins our bet, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.